Throughout the last number of warm months, I've typically jumped from one project to the next in an effort to keep things interesting and maintain steady progress on the variety of so-called hot rods that I've collected. However, now that winter has come in earnest and the temperature has dropped, we'll be doing our best to maintain a bit of focus on some particular projects. And this week, that means we're back on sweet gravy. When we last saw the 1981 Pontiac Parisienne, the engine was removed due to previous damage, and I may have mentioned we had a replacement that has been provided by my cousin Trevor. This 1980s square body Chevy was known as Gutshaker, and it served as a pretty cool rallycross racer in the days we had the acreage before I was filming for YouTube. It is powered by a high compression 350 small block built to run on propane, and the weight savings made it one of the quickest pickups around our track. We also used it as a water truck to wet the track when it was dusty and water the garden when it was dry. Now there's no video evidence, but the rumor is one day someone decided to combine water hauling with rallycross racing, and the truck ended up on its roof with 1,000 liters of water spewing out of the tank. Long story short, I have a spare small block Chevy, and today we're pulling it out and rehoming it in the Pontiac. So I guess we're doing another engine removal video, but this one we're gonna do a little faster, because, you know, we're not critically worried about the body. So it's a little bit of rip and tear on this one, which is kind of too bad, because this poor old truck, it never got the glory it deserved, because it was a pretty cool race car for a little while, and then it was a good water truck for a while. It was when we tried to make it a water truck and a race car at the same time that it all went wrong. But, you know, that's just the way things go sometimes. Let's get ripping and tearing. Alright. Get you out of here. Start with this, hey? Get off there! Wow, that ground strap deserves to live. Come on, off of there. I don't think we're gonna recore this rad. There we go. Oh yeah, the old tranny lines, eh? I know what to do with them. That's a lot of water in there. I don't think we can use this fan blade again either. It's just not quite the way it's supposed to be. Okay, now since we're here, it's worth mentioning. Get out of there. Since we're here, it's worth mentioning we're gonna try and use all of this belt drive because it's just a little more compact and we don't have to fight with the bracketry that has the AC compressor on it. Because you might find this shocking, but I'm not probably putting AC back on that car. At least not anytime soon. We won't get rid of the bracketry, but we would like to simplify it if we can. This, however, you may notice we may have a problem there. Okay, so we've made it this far. We've taken a bunch of stuff off. The alternator mount was kind of bent up. Obviously the fan was bent, the rad support was bent. And then I thought, we're this far, let's make sure this engine spins over nice. It wasn't long ago that it was running, but let's just make sure. And it's good. Everything's feels minty. We also have the exhaust manifold pulled off. Yeah, that's actually it. But we're making progress. Things are gonna happen fast now. Maybe. I hope. Hi, kitty. I'll say one thing, having no body panels makes this job much more friendly. Like I was going to remove the exhaust from underneath, but then I thought to myself, why would I go underneath? When we pulled the carburetor off, we noticed that it's not good in there. Matter of fact, the guys say it's bad in there and you should have bagged it when it happened, not, 6 months later. But anyways, with that in mind, we know that it spins, but we're going to pull all the plugs. Maybe, just maybe, the starter will work. and we can spin it over with the starter and hopefully blow all the junk out of the plug holes. At least that's the hope. We'll see if it plays out. Well, the method to the madness here is we've got all the plugs pulled, we've got a little bit of juice shot into them, and if there is anything in the cylinder, it'll blow out. And we'd like to do that before we put it in the new car, in case there's something significant that may, change our decision, as it were. Well, hello, Cher. What are you doing here? Hello. No dogs, so the kitty comes out, hey? No guarantees this is gonna work. No, it doesn't. Of course, that battery might be stone dead. Despite how much water and junk came out of that cylinder, I suspect we'll be able to make this engine run again. And though I'm a little disappointed, I set to work getting it pulled out anyways. Did all the underneath stuff. I left the starter on this time. Probably going to put it in with the starter if it'll fit. We undid the torque converter because I don't want to have to do that hanging from the hoist. We left the transmission attached because that's easier and faster to pull. And we undid the U-joint and the tranny mount. And the speedometer cable. And the shift linkage, and hopefully that's all of it. We're about to find out. It's coming out now! It's almost coming out now! Oh, we're stuck on something now! Oh, there we go. What am I stuck on? Can we lower? Something is holding me back. I think we're stuck on the transmission. Everybody hold on. Let's try this again. More pizzazz. Take two. Oh yeah. Now we're doing stuff. Up you go. Where are you stuck on now? Oh, the starter. Okay, up higher. Who did this? Oh, I missed the wire. The process of a wiggle and a jiggle carried on for the remainder of the evening, and before you know it, the next day in the barn had arrived. So we've made a little progress since we last checked in. Gut shaker truck is out. Sweet gravy's back in. Transmission is popped off of the engine. And now we're at that stage where we have to decide what kind of people we are. Like, are we the put it in covered in grease kind of people? Or the clean it up kind of people? Or the rattle can rebuild kind of people? What I've started doing, and I kind of like, is I just set myself a timer and say, I'm going to make this 30 minutes cleaner, or 20 minutes, and that's all. That's it. I won't go crazy, but I'm going to make it 25 or 30 minutes cleaner. So that's the plan. And then we'll see what we got for paint. Because, well, I don't like putting engines in without painting them first. That's all there is to it. So that's a lot more than half an hour worth. Honestly, I think we're closer to 2 hours than half an hour, but sometimes you can't just stop. because it's, you know, it still isn't good enough for paint. But, like, I'm well overtimed. And, well, let's be honest, it's just a small block Chevy anyways, and it's going to come apart again, so let's shoot it with some paint. I did find an interesting thing I want to show you. This here was tagged onto the block down below, and it is a rebuilder tag. Now, we don't know everything because half of it's gone, but it does say it's 30 over on the bore and the throws. And we can't read the mains, and it's got a type number that I don't understand. And a tag from a company I've never heard of, but it's only an hour and a half away, so it sounds reasonable. It's no longer a 350 if that's what it is. It is now at least a 355 because it's 30 over. So that's pretty good. We like a 355. That's a better number to me. Unfortunately, the tag that would tell us a little bit more is, well, we know that the block's been decked because there's no more numbers here. We've got all kinds of numbers on the cylinder heads. All kinds of numbers down here. But nothing here where they're supposed to be. For anybody curious in the comments what color we chose? Well, we're starting with universal gray. Because that's the only engine enamel I had in the can that would spray. And then, if we decide we don't like gray, we can paint over it with something that's not engine enamel. Because engine enamel is really good at dealing with excess amounts of oil and grease, dirt. We have all of those. So, we'll put this on like a primer, and then we can paint it whatever we want after. And if you're wondering why I didn't, take the distributor out, because I didn't want to. Just sort of like, I don't need that extra step, Besides, it's snack time at home, and I am quite hungry. We would like to get this coat on very quickly. If we had 2 cans of this, we'd use both hands. What do you think, Elvis? You, Luna? You still wearing your coveralls? You like the gray color? That's a lot of sneezing. Little buddy? Yeah. After the paint had dried, I ended up with some visitors by way of Nephew Sam and dear old Pops. And once I started bolting on the accessories, I let Nephew Sam take my camera for a while, and he explored the barn.
Hey, what's in here? Got a tire? Got a air cleaner, I'd say. Distributor cap, I think. A fan. Stuff I don't want to touch. Well, all kinds. Myriads of Rock Auto stickers. So what do we got? We got Janelle's Javelin, Alan's Fury, Joe's Chev Square Body, Bill's El Camino, Ron's Plymouth, Steve's Subaru. When is it plane?
What do you think of that, Sam? Is that good enough?
Yeah.
Yep, that's the right attitude.
Good enough for who it's for.
Yep. As Grandpa and Nephew Sam try to eliminate the mouse problem that I've got going on currently, I am continuing painting all the accessories and, getting through with that part.
Can I use your sledgehammer?
What?
Can I use your sledgehammer?
Sure. Don't hit anything I like.
Okay.
And with some persuasion from Sam, good old Pops even got involved with explaining why my exhaust manifold doesn't exactly fit these heads perfectly.
Well, there's a slight problem here with the 350 engine as compared to the 305 engine, and it appears it has something to do with the positioning of that rear outlet on the exhaust manifold, and the last port that normally would connect it to the manifold is different on the 350. There's the bolt spacing is further out on the 305. You can see it's quite visible that
Here?
there's not going to be able to be a bolt run through there. So one bolt will have to suffice on that particular port.
Is the manifold the 350?
The manifold would be the 305,
Oh.
and the engine is the 350. Somebody's going to know why they did that, but it appears to be the flow out of the rear outlet. It would have to be too abrupt,
Yeah, otherwise it would just.
coming straight down like that in order to. That probably would make it a. It's not a very potent or performance-based manifold, but they've used it for compactness, I expect.
You actually know why they did that? Comment down below. Finally, time to silicone it. Is that red or orange? Oh, right, it's the
It's copper colored.
ultra copper. You said it's the best stuff on the market, and that's why I bought it.
it's the best for hot things.
Like an exhaust manifold.
Yeah, like an exhaust manifold.
Now, here we go. Last hit.
Dad, could you stop the engine from rolling around on me? There we go.
Hold on. What do you mean, like
The dangly bits.
kind of like hold the engine?
Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you.
Oh, well, maybe.
A little bit of distortion, I think, is probably what's happened here.
Oh, that's a possibility. Oh, that's a serious little bit of distortion.
Not ideal. Well, we got this far. It looks really good and all, but right here we had a little problem because this had a helicoil in it and none of the others did. And the problem was that helicoil, well, that was a one-time use kind of helicoil. Anyways, I kind of trashed it, putting the bolt in, and well, I don't have any spares, so I guess we're waiting on parts to get that. One of two things is going to happen. I'm either going to close out the video and say, thanks for watching and subscribing, guys. We'll see you next time. Bye. Or we'll jump to another clip where I've fixed this problem and we're putting it in, but I'm kind of out of time for making a video this week, if I'm honest, so this might be it. We'll see you next time. Thanks for watching. Bye.